Hello everybody to our today's Yanuz Dialogue. Today we are speaking about a hybrid evaluation process. And for it, I'm absolutely pleased to have with us again Paul, my friend Paul, who's one of the founding fathers of this Yanuz social innovation learning space. Welcome, Paul. And to those who don't know you yet, please quickly let us know who you are and what you do, Paul, please.
Yes, nice to see you again, Matthias. I'm Paul Beenen from the Hanze University in Groningen. That's all the way north in the Netherlands. And I'm working there as a lecturer and as a researcher. And I love doing a lot of projects in social innovation towards societal transitions.
Thank you very much, Paul. And Paul, you are also one of our members of our evaluation team in the Yanuz family. So this brings me to my first question for today. And it is, how do you evaluate social innovation initiatives?
Yes, that's a great question, because there's so much happening in social innovation. And normally, if you do a project and you know in advance which outcomes you want, and then you define criteria and you evaluate it. But now you don't know. It's a long process. There's a lot of stakeholders involved. There's a lot of collective learning. There's a lot of individual learning. So people come in, people go out. You don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be at the end of the innovation. So you can't predefine criteria. So it's quite complex, as we say, and that makes the evaluation process very difficult. So we have been thinking that we really need a kind of structure, and that structure we call a hybrid impact evaluation.
Thank you very much, Paul. That was a perfect transfer to my next question, because now we've been setting a little bit the ground. And actually my next question to you is then, how do you understand this hybrid evaluation process you've been mentioning to us?
Yes, we have been structuring it in 3 layers. And the main layer we put in the middle, and that's based on learning, on development, because it's a long process. So what we are doing is building up a developmental evaluation where all the learnings, what's happening, and from individuals and from the collective, from the ecosystem, comes together. And in that learning, when you have decided together on your final goal, or you have some sub-goals, in that learning you can define specific outcomes and specific outputs. Then you go back to the second layer in this case, and the second layer will be more criteria based, a more classic measurement of outcomes and outputs. But of course, because you are aiming for a big societal change, that small output or outcome needs to come back into the learning. So what does this outcome, a product, you made an app or you made a movie to inform people, what does that add to the developmental process you are in together? And then in all the process, and all the things, what emerges, all the adaptation in the process, there's also popping up a lot of things. And that's the third layer. We call that the emergent impact. And basically it's the bycatch. What's happening? What kind of patterns did you develop together? Because in the ecosystem you work together, a lot of times people start to do other things together, like us. We have been doing projects together, and within the project we already started other projects. So often in social innovation, you really want also to measure, to be aware of what the added value is, because social innovation is very expensive in the sense that it costs a lot of time. Together, it's a long period. So I think it's one of the main things to show that it's really worth the investment. But then you really need to evaluate it, and that's what we do in these 3 layers.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's not easy to describe this without a picture, but certainly that's what Yanuz is all about. So for all of those interested, you will find further guiding material and visualizations in our toolbox. Yeah, feel free to check this out. Paul, we have a lot of people from practice here also, and so let's talk a little bit implementation. Our next question is therefore, what is needed to implement this hybrid evaluation process?
Yes, well, first of all, I think that what's needed is that everybody has a good understanding of what social innovation is, and that it's really a long process where we don't have a guideline or a cookbook for. So it is a learning process. And if you realize that, then you can start to structure a hybrid evaluation process. But within that evaluation process, there's a lot of evaluation instruments we already know, like the developmental evaluation in itself is a method. And it would be nice to define in advance some guiding principles, some values you define together, and you can evaluate on that as well. But we have timeline methods, we have diaries, we have classic plan, do, check, act measurements. We have to find ways to really catch the bycatch, the emergent impact. So there's a lot of different instruments. And for that, I think it's very nice that we have Yanuz, because in Yanuz there's a lot of people who have already experience with evaluating in such a complex circumstance, and there's a lot of instruments available.
Thank you very much, Paul. Paul, last but not least, we always talk about sharing knowledge and being in a common learning pathway. So we always try to wrap up a little bit with people sharing their very own experience. And this leads me to the last question then, which is, what is your most important learning from now evaluating social innovation initiatives or communities of practice?
Yes, well, the most important part for me is that we are in projects, we're very used to think and design first and then implement it and then evaluate it. And evaluation, a lot of people don't like so much. It's people associate it with an audit culture, and it's a must do. So for me, the most important learning is that evaluation should be, first of all, fun. And it really needs to start from day one, and people need to be really able to see that it really helps them to act immediately in the process. So it will start to really help them. And I think it would be beautiful if we, from the start of the process, we can also align activities, small projects within the social innovation towards the higher aim, the mission you have formulated, and then you position evaluation much more central than we are used to be, and that for me is a very important learning.
Thank you very much, Paul. So for me, it only leads me to say thank you very much. I hope you evaluate this Yanuz Dialogue positively today, and it was also some fun for you. doing this. Thanks again for your time, and hopefully see you soon.
You're very welcome. It's always nice to talk to you, Matthias.
Thank you very much.